Yes, here we go. P.M.P time. It was Celtic with a 2-0 win at Easter Road. I loved the football first half, and then I thought second half we could have been back in last season and doing, one of those type of shows. But I'm going to try and remain on the positives because I think the first half performance was still a level, if not a few levels above our better one half performances of last year. If you remember, it was often one good half, one shite half last year. This year, I felt it was an exceptionally good first half and then an average second half. So I do still think there's evolution there. But we will talk about all that, get Pam and Terry's thoughts. They join me as ever for the P.M.P in the 24-25 season. Before we get started, we've got housekeeping, do all that good stuff. It means give us a wee like, give us a share, hit the bell, hit subscribe, go to piesports.com. Bus 1888, tasty pastry treat, 12.5% off there. Pies for halftime, pies for the P.M.P, whatever it may be. Jeez, I've not had a drink yet. Can you tell? I've just rang off all that good stuff without having to think of any of it. Wow. What a difference it makes anyway. Cheers. Pam, I'll come to you first. It was an impressive start to that game from Celtic, was it not?
Oh, yeah, it was very good. Like I said, got a goal in the second minute. Boom. Fantastic. I was very happy with the first half, but I'll tell you with the second half, if I was watching it in bed, I would have dozed off. With the exception of the Kyogo injury anxiety, it was just completely dull.
I hear you, Terry. It was a first half where Celtic started with a bang. Nicholas couldn't ended up getting man of the match. A brilliant goal considering how quickly we travelled from our own half, just outside our own box, to scoring a tap-in in their goal. I do think that sums up the more purposeful play Celtic seem to be executing this season so far anyway. It feels to me as though they're playing just a wee bit quicker. I think actually Liam Scales is getting it tighter off the fans, albeit I still think he's went up a few notches in terms of trying to play a bit quicker when he's got the ball at his feet, but he's maybe just being more exposed, such as the tempo that we're now playing with. And it was perfect example. That was that opening goal.
I think you described it perfectly there, Bhoycie, with your sort of your opening gambit there around the first half. The first half was on a different level to what we got served up last year. And we sort of followed on from last week, which followed on from the pre-season, just where everything seemed to be done at a little bit of a quicker speed. Sometimes whenever people put voice messages on WhatsApp, I don't want to listen to them all. Listen to maybe a 2 or 3 minute message, so I speed it up to 1.5 or speed it up to 2. It sounds quite funny as well, but it feels as if Celtic have just speeded it up a couple of extra notches, and we started the game, got the early goal. Kuhn, again, much maligned by me. I've been really impressed with the guy, I have to say. He was involved in that goal twice, so it was...
Yeah, he was, yes.
Played the ball to Kyogo. Kyogo actually should have played Kuhn in again. I think
agree.
The play there was to play him in, but he's had a go. Keeper will probably look back and think he could have done better. He's pushed it to the side, which you're supposed to do. But James Forrest's role in that goal, it looks simple. It looks simple at the time, but whenever you see the replay back, his starting position against the right back, he was so far behind him, and he's made a run there on the off chance that something breaks in his direction. And again, it looks like an easy cutback to Kuhn, but it's not. It's controlled, and Kuhn couldn't miss, but I think Forrest played a key role in it. Kuhn involved at the start of it, involved at the finish of it, and some decent stuff from him today. There were a couple of little turns. There was one early in the second half where he did a little bit of a pirouette, and he's just given a little bit of a glimpse that he might be some guy that gets fans off their seat after a very, very patchy start. But no, glad to see him getting the goals. And whenever he came in, I think anyone who sort of had seen him play, they said that he had pace, he had serum pace to burn, but end product was the one area that probably stopped him from getting a game at the clubs that he'd been at younger, and maybe allowing Celtic to be the club that was able to get his signature, because the key attribute at the end of those runs is, do you get a goal? Do you set up a goal? Do you get goal contributions? And if he's now adding that to his armoury, he does present himself now as in my book a serious first team option.
Well, he is, yeah, definitely. I think that's what he was brought in to be, Pam. I've got to be honest, I felt as well at times, though, he can release the ball just that wee bit earlier. He seems to just, when it goes, pull the trigger, you've done the hard bit. And then he'll take on another couple of touches. There was a couple of examples as well, and I think this was the same as last week, if I remember correctly, or one of the pre-season games, where he sort of goes across the opposition box. He beats one guy, looks like there's the time to shoot, and then he'll go left again or right, whatever it is, in this horizontal sort of trajectory, and he actually ends up running into sort of more traffic as he does that. But overall, I think he's someone, if we think the team's improved, I think Kuhn, from what we've seen between January and May last year, has vastly already improved. And he's obviously doing it in training as well, because I don't think what he'd done in the second half of the season once he joined us warranted him being one of the names on the team sheet. James Forrest, for example, seems to have been the guy with the form that he was in. He's kept his place because he's kept up, obviously, in pre-season and things like that. But I think towards the end of last season, he was our most informed player. Therefore, he's into the team. Kuhn seems to have been maybe benefit from Aida's injury, yes. But even, to be honest with you, how he would have been third choice based on what we'd seen last year, I'm not sure he would be automatic go-to to be starting football matches at the start of the season. Credit to him, though. And do you know another weird thing, Pam? I want your thoughts on this as well. Terry's right. He was described as someone who had pace to burn. I wasn't even sure of that last year. I wasn't convinced he looked as fast as made out. But boy, oh boy, he just looks like he's got the bit between his teeth in terms of his quality on the ball. Overall, despite my slight critique of his hesitancy to pull the trigger. And I certainly think he looks fitter and more at it right now. And with that comes, I think, more evidence of this pace that he does seemingly have to burn.
I agree with both of you. I mean, even when I saw him here in the US, he looked stronger. He looked more active and, looked very similar to how he's been playing the last two games. For me, he's become not quite the backbone, but definitely somebody you can rely on heavily, which is fantastic. It's such a contrast to how I felt about him when he first came here. And I thought, oh my God, he's literally just another piece of the dead wood that we're already building up. And it's quite overwhelming as well to look at. But
yeah, I hear you on that. Yep.
I think I've noticed a difference in his physicality too. He looks stronger. He looks more muscular. He looks more powerful. You can really see it on the pitch. He's been making some fantastic runs. Not today, like he did today, but also, the game against Killy. He was the one that was making a lot of those runs. And, I said this last week, but I think there are some similarities between him and Maeda. To have them on both sides of the pitch, I think it's a pretty good situation to be in.
Well, it is, Terry. I mean, him and Maeda, if that's the sort of pace levels you've got, the one thing you don't want to do against Celtic is press that back line up high, because that they will be able to expose it. And I do wonder if in Europe Kuhn could be such a big game changer for us with that, Terry. I think with Maeda, Kyogo and Kuhn, if that's your front three, they don't need to be all £50 million players to do damage at this level. What you can do is catch them out with the physical attributes. Now, if you've got centre-backs, and these teams that we're accustomed to that are ranked so much higher than us in coefficient points and things like this, and in the latter stages of tournaments when we're not, one way to expose them is they'll come even to Celtic Park and they'll play their centre-backs on the halfway line, essentially, when they've got the ball in our half. And you're looking at that devastating pace, creativity that Kuhn's bringing. You look at the work rate, the press that Maeda will do, and his knack of getting behind. And then you're looking for Kyogo to be a killer. when he gets his opportunities, which he wasn't quite today, Terry, was he? When he had the opportunity that he sent past the post. Was that at 1-0? Was that at 2-0? I can't remember. I think
it was at 1-0. It was at 1-0.
Was it 1-0?
Yeah,
so that was a telling moment. What were your thoughts on Kyogo missing that opportunity and a few others today? Obviously, we can look at the one I'm referring to is when he's side-footed it about a good 2 yards wide. When I think it's, you've got to hit the target there. And if you've not got, Sutton was kind of alluding to, well, his first touch was so straight, it meant to do the bend, wasn't there? Rifle it then. Fucking smash it into the roof of the net. These are options. You don't need to, because you're in that position, go for the back post. If it's not on, don't do it. He didn't put any bend on the ball, to be fair. I don't want to be overcritical, so I thought some of his movement today and some of his runs, Terry, were absolutely outstanding. But notwithstanding it, you get these chances, you've got to take them. Yes, Celtic have looked a lot better this season. And today in particular, we looked like we're firing on all cylinders. And that miss doesn't come back to haunt us in any way, any way, shape or form. However, he then misses another couple as well. And we do want to see Kyogo being clinical in these sort of situations, particularly when the scoreline is so tight at 1-0. Despite our ascendancy, you've got to make it count, right?
Yeah, but we've seen this from him before. But Bhoycie, he is susceptible to missing the ones you sometimes think he's got to score from there. And when he's running in there, you're thinking you're just expecting the net to bulge, and he probably should have been going with it on his left side rather than his right. But as you say, he didn't even get close. He wasn't even close with that. That was miles wide. But his movement today, and we've seen it again. We've seen it last week. His movement was superb, and there was a very definite tactic, and the manager did. He mentioned it at the full time there, and with that, it's not necessarily a tactic that he asked the players to do, but there were at least 2 opportunities where Taylor found Kyogo with a much more direct ball. So instead of it going from Taylor into the midfield to then try and work it through to Kyogo or out to the wings, Taylor was going straight to Kyogo and finding him, and Kyogo was making the runs, and that was working, and that's where some of his opportunities came from. But yeah, he's got to be more clinical, and I think the other part of it is as well that how many times was he hurt today? And it takes us back to a completely different conversation where he's on the ground, and the manager confirmed his shoulder popped out again. Yep. So his shoulder popped out. He said the guys were trying to get it in again, but he was uncomfortable.
It must be sore as fuck that happening all the time as well. That's not a pleasant injury, is it, Terry?
No, I can't imagine. Something that he's that feels particularly good. But again, it just I don't want to get into a negative one today at all. But we obviously know what the dangers are of him being the only striker at the club and what that entails, and we need to get that resolved. But yeah. No, I've no concerns. Obviously, you want him to be scoring the goals. I think he's always come up trumps when in the key moments in the key games, and I've no doubt that'll continue to be the case. But yeah, he'll probably feel two games in, he's had enough chances to put himself on the score sheet.
Pam, I think that is the positive is that his movement is such that when we do find him, he does seem to, his chances look more glaring because of the space he finds himself in, such of the timing of his runs, the pace that he does them at. And if we can find him, he will carry on being in these situations where you can then judge whether he's finishing as clinical or not. So he's doing the hard bit for me. And that is the hardest part, I think, is trying to get there. Many will say the hardest part in the game is scoring goals. But when you look at the runs he's doing and the way he bends them at times, I'm looking at it going, that looks far harder to me than some of the chances that he's sadly not scored so far this season. Of course, we've got faith that he will, but of course, it'll go back to as well the age-old argument that competition might be something that would push him even further into that mindset. I think Kyogo finished last year with 19 goals. Henrik Larsson's coming in saying, second game in, he's just warming up. He was just warming up for a lot of last season, to be perfectly honest with you, in the goal front, as far as I'm concerned, Henrik. So I think he needs to, we want to see, when Kyogo's so revered and regarded to me as this undroppable first pick striker, and if we were to bring in another two, then they're automatically second and third choice. That's because he must be in a throne of some sort. He's got to do more than 19 goals to be undroppable. He has to. So, I think once we get that competition, and that will definitely help him. But on the injury front, Pam, as well, it's not just missing a couple of opportunities. I thought Kyogo's overall game was excellent. Misses a couple of opportunities. That's where you like to have these options for the strikers. The shoulder popping thing, and Brendan confirming it, tells you it's now not just wanting to have a bit of competition for him, it's needing to have another option for him. And if you're going to have another option for option's sake, there's no point. So you've got to go and spend the money on Adamida and be able to rely on someone when a Kyogo feels his shoulder pop, sound, off you come. We know we're going to bring on a guy who's more than capable of filling those boots and taking, if there is similar opportunities that arise, similar to taking them as well.
100% there. And just to answer Henrik's point, I hear you, but the preseason should have been his time to warm up. He should be warmed up now. He should be working with the team now. He should be scoring now. I think it's going to be a test for Kyogo. He hasn't really, I remember especially when he first came here, he was doing those amazing runs and scoring the beautiful goals. Now, how is he going to respond to not finishing those chances? Because he has had at least over half a dozen chances between these past two matches to score and score some really nice goals too. We just cannot get there. I think having diversity in how we score and how we attempt to score is absolutely critical. I think that's what saved our season last season with Ida. I don't believe we have to have Ida, but we have to have somebody different to Kyogo who can go up against different playing styles, different players, score differently. I think that diversity is just, unfortunately, we're at a stage where it's incredibly critical with Kyogo's shoulder popping out. I believe it's been a recurring problem. We should not be at this stage where it's absolutely critical. We should be at a stage where it's needed to further progress. But now, honestly, just to maintain our performance, we really need it. I can't believe we're in this position, to be honest.
Yeah, to me, Terry, we could go on about the point forever. I think we will this week as well until it gets to the date. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. I know you've watched the bus, you probably are. But Regan, like a month ago, told us Adam Ida was signing on the 15th of August. I still, even if you're ITK, I don't get how you would be able to know that date. And yet here we are on the 11th. 15th would be Thursday.
Yep.
I think it'll be. I think he is going to be boggers for being right on that, and I can't work out how he's got the. See, the fact is, Regan should have been wrong. That's the reality. Regan absolutely should have been wrong on that front. I look forward to seeing another forward come in. Your mom wants Ida Amijovski. He's in the same plane as me, man. Totally agree with that. And Barabundi, I think his name was Barabundi, great name. Barabundi says, 2024, Mikey Johnson is our backup striker. What are we actually doing as a club? Mikey Johnson, I mean,
that was intentional, Bhoycie. I think that was intentional.
He's good that way, Rogers. He's always been good that way.
Yeah.
He plays.
Look at my option here.
Is it repeating a trick as well? Did you not start Mikey Johnson at Ibrox as a striker? If you remember when we lost, Cal Mack played left back that day as well. Did he not?
I know, and he said in his interview last week that people are talking about him sending messages, and he doesn't send messages. That was a message. that was a message, and he continuously sends messages.
Who says he doesn't say? By him saying I'm not sending messages is sending a message.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Yeah, no, definitely. Terry, then we got the news, obviously, this week, Cal Mack's retired from international football. I want your take on that, and then obviously we look at the goal, because the goal is something of absolute beauty. Don't give Cal Mack space. I thought Hibs in the first half, by the way, just on the side, were fucking dreadful. I mean, awful. I thought second half, they had to get better. Let's be real. Celtic took the foot off the gas as well, and that combined with David Gray being able to live to see another day. But apparently, their chairman and their chairman said it wouldn't have been his choice for manager or sporting director, Malcolm Mackay, just like before a boss kicked this season. So he's on a shaky peg as far as I'm concerned. If Celtic had put pedal at the metal in that second half and went full throttle, that would have been a hiding. Kyogo takes his chances. That's a hiding today, mate. They were fucking dreadful. However, nothing summed up more than Cal Mack, just because he's retired from international duty, that doesn't mean he is anywhere close to retirement, and hopefully he'll extend his best years of form as well in a Celtic shirt, which I think over the last 18 months, it would be fair to say, he's came under more would you call it criticism or more judgment? I think there's been more more forensic sort of looks at his performances as a whole over the last 18 months. And I think he did the right thing. Get the Euros out the road. You know, everyone wants to take part in that. I totally get that. Have a wee think, because you don't want to make an emotional decision because Scotland were pish at the Euros and go, oh, fuck this, I'm away. He's took his time and he's now at, this the new season started now. I need to be on it here. So this is where my future lies, just playing for Celtic and captaining them. This guy isn't close to retirement home for football, Terry. Don't give him that much space outside the box. That left foot strike, the only reason it's not as spectacular as some is because it's the middle. It's like this. It's shoulder height. See if that's just a yard higher and it goes in the top bins. Oh, that would have looked incredible. The way the ball moves, the straightness it goes at. Once it gets to its final height about 10 yards out, and then it's just a missile going straight into that corner. It is an absolute peach of a strike, and that got us that comfortable lead that we were looking for. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. In terms of Hibs, as you alluded to there, they were absolutely ranked rotten. They were dreadful, and if that's what their supporters have got to look forward to this season, it's going to be a long, hard season. And I think that the drop off in the second half, I think it was a mixture of a few things. We were so comfortable in that first half. Hibs were so poor. They couldn't come out and be any worse. They had to be better. Also a really hot day as well, and it's the second game in. So I think there's plenty of mitigation there as to why there was a drop off on the Celtic side, and we'll only see in the coming weeks whether that continues to be a theme where, you know, what we had last season was just Jekyll and Hyde, first halves and second halves. I think there were enough things there today. We were just so comfortable and dominant that you know, there was always going to be a drop off from us, and there was always going to be a bit of an increase from them. And as I said, there a lot of heat and still early in the season. But and I suppose just in terms of the Hibs crowd there as well, what about all those empty seats? Even though they found a need to cut the away allocation, but their stadium's sitting empty. But the question was about McGregor. I'm delighted from a Celtic point of view that he's decided to call it a day with Scotland. What age is Calmac? I think he's 31, something like that. And probably for the best part of 10 years, he's just been playing non-stop. And international football now, there's just so many more games than there were 20, 30 years ago. I mean, back then, if a player got to 100 caps, it was out of the ordinary. You've now got footballers getting 200 caps, and that's just because there's just now so much international football. And McGregor's been involved in Scotland pretty much for the last 10 years. And what it means is it's all those extra games. He plays most of them. It's not just travelling away with the squad all the time. He's playing most of them. He never gets a break. So he's got Celtic League games. He also plays most of the cup games. We usually get to the latter stages of both, and he plays every game for Scotland. So I think it's just a case of things have took their toll in terms of not just the playing, but he's at a stage now where he probably wants to be around his family and have quality time with his family. And if the only chance you get is the only breaks you get from Celtic, if you're then jumping on a plane to go somewhere else, you're missing out on quality family time. And I think he's at that stage where that's going to be important to him. And I think the drop off, or the perceived drop off in the last year or 18 months, I think it's just the high standards that he set for himself, and we've become accustomed to him just completely bossing games from start to finish. And I think it's just a build-up of all of that, and he's felt that this is now the time, the right thing for him. And I'd say for him to for him to give his best for Celtic, and for him to give himself longevity in the career and give himself that quality family time, I think he's decided now's the right time. Scotland are pretty well stocked in that department. It opens up an opportunity for someone else. Although Steve Clark was in the crowd today, and the camera panned to him just after that goal, and it was quite a poignant moment, because he's obviously seeing there what he's going to be missing out on. But it was one of them shots, boys. So, you know, sometimes just when you see, as soon as it leaves his boot, you know it's in, and as soon as it left his boot, you knew it was 2-0, and 20 minutes in, 18 minutes in, I think it was game over. That was the points in the bag. I don't normally look at my phone during the games, but it was just pinging, and about 5 different people had messaged me, and they all messaged me the exact same. It was just one word: "Whoa!" And I think that's just how I felt. It just made you gasp. What a strike! What a goal! And yeah, that was the game pretty much done and dusted in that act. And we're talking about O'Reilly, and we talking about Hatate and the big money move for O'Reilly and all. I thought O'Reilly was a wee bit quiet today. I didn't think he was the most influential. I thought McGregor out of the midfield 3 today was he not even just because of the goal. I just felt out of the 3 he probably shone the brightest. And I think Scotland's loss will be Celtic's gain.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already seeing the benefits from retiring from international football, to be honest. You just look fitter already. I know, but I generally, I think from my point of view, Pam, I think there is an aspect of him that what these players do, that when they have such high standards like Cal Mack does, is they'll be self-analysing all the time, their own performance. I've got a feeling he'll have thought to himself, his past 18 months have probably not been as good for either club or country, to be perfectly honest with you, is what he would like and what he still feels fit enough and able enough to do. There's no reason for him not to be still playing his best football. That's what he'll feel right now. He's just turned 31. It's fuck all. Do you know what I mean in the modern day? But he'll be looking at then another mountain of games. He'll be looking at his calendar for this year and going, fucking hell. And why let it get any worse? I think for me, it would be not any worse as if it's been bad. What I mean is, why let there be chance of form deteriorating to a point where it does become noticeable? I think Terry's right. I think he's been held in such a high standard that when he's not reaching those, that means a dip in form. I think Matt O'Reilly's dip in form last year was wholly over-exaggerated as well, if I'm honest. But we see that with players that have massive, exceptionally high standards. I think now you don't retire for Celtic and carry on playing for Scotland. So there's only one winner in the debate. You've got to go, and it does reduce his season by season matches by about, I think it's about 7 or 8 games they'll play. I think it's about 3 trips away during the season. I mean, a lot of the times in high pressure games, but when he plays the whole 90 minutes in all these games. So if it's 2 games in the space of 4 days, he's played every one. We all know he trains as he plays. It is a hell of a lot of exertion. I expect to see his form go up this year for what it was last season. I know Celtic as a team will probably go up as well, but I think on a personal note for Cal Mack, I think we'll see a better version of him over the next 18 months than we did the previous 18 months. What are your thoughts on that? And of course, the goal as well.
Well, firstly, I thought the goal was absolutely superb. I wrote just the word "bam" and all caps next to it, so it was just fantastic. I think it actually kind of it really rattled Hibs. And I think the biggest indicator that was their near own goal that they had, I think just 2 or 3 minutes afterwards from O'Hara. I'm like, okay, they are rattled from it, because it was such a strong strike that.
Yeah, they were rocking at that point. You're right.
Just as yourself and Terry were saying earlier, as soon as you saw it leave his foot, you knew it was going to go in, because it was just rock solid, and it really got to them. As in terms of him retiring, I think after the Euros, he will have weighed up the costs and benefits of playing international football. And he probably will look at himself. He says, look, I have a stable career at Celtic. I don't need to play international football to try and advertise myself to other teams, which I think is used as a vehicle for younger players to do, to display himself on the world or European stage. I think he said to himself, look, I have a stable career here at Celtic. I might as well just put all my eggs in this basket now before, playing in more international games increases the risk of injuries too. So I think that was also a factor in it too.
Yeah, definitely. There's more to it than just one angle. Of course there is. I'm looking forward to seeing what he provides in the team. But not just that. Terry, you talked about the midfield. I thought Rio Hatate was the sloppiest at the 3 in the first half, but seeing that, though, again, he probably was playing at what? A 6, 7 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was a disastrous first half or anything like that from Rio. But what I did like was, see the one-touch pass and the wee flicks around the corner that we seem to have really brought into our game. It goes out wide. Johnson does the sort of inverted overlap, if that makes sense. He's down the line, but he's actually in the inside channel from the further side. It'd be like a coon, and there'd be a wee flick round the corner, and them running onto it, and they're looking for that cut back into the box. We've seen a lot of these wee sort of one-touch movements. We talked about that intensity before. You need guys like Hatate and O'Reilly taking risks on the ball. I think there was a moment, with Hatate in the first half where he thought he had half an hour in the ball and he had 2 seconds and he got nicked. It got nicked off him. But there's other times where Hatate gives it away where he's in the team to take those risks. So get used to, seeing, the odd pass go astray, because there'll be brave passes. And that's what we need if we're going to maintain this sort of higher tempo, higher intensity football, which we were all begging for last season. But with that comes a higher risk. So we need to accept some days it'll be Hatate who might be, he was the weakest at the sea. Sometimes it might be O'Reilly. But when we're talking about that, remember, it is what they're trying to actually achieve in the team now. And it's not possession for possession's sake. See, if you want to know the truth, I thought Calmat was braver in the ball today than often he was last season. I thought Calmat often passed. How would you describe it? The direction he's travelling. And the direction he's travelling, that would be his pass. And it would often be sideways to slightly forward, but it's in the direction he's passing. Today, he looked to be doing 180s, you know what I mean? Looking left, looking right, and they just seem, again, like the whole team, a wee bit more zip. But I don't know. I think it'll be difficult at times this season for fans to accept that, do you know what? There's going to be the odd sloppy, what looks like a perceived sloppy performance. There's going to be stats that Liam Scales is the best player in the park with 280 passes, but he will be the one doing the save balls. It'll be Rio Hatate, 60 out of 90 completed passes or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Because they're actually decisive ones that he's attempting. They're tricky passes, they're creative passes, and they take a hell of a lot of technique and ability to try and pull off. That side of it, though, I'm all for that, because I do feel last year, I don't think we'll get much of a higher points total this year, if you want my honest truth. I don't think it'll be much different. We won the league last year more than we won it by either seasons under Ange Postecoglou. People don't want to know that, but that's the truth. There was a bigger gap between Celtic and Rangers last year than there was in the 2 Ange years, and we felt we were closer ran last year than the years under Ange. We also had a points tally to be proud of. One of the highest points tallies in the last 20-odd years. I think it would have been 6th out of the last 20 or something like that. In terms of where it would rank. I don't think we'll get much more, but I want to be a wee bit more entertained this year, Terry, because I found it a struggle at times last year, and I'm Roger's biggest fan, as you know, on here. For no other reason, I just happen to like him as a football manager. I think he does good things, not because I'm an apologist or any of that shite. But I think when it comes to the football, I want to see big improvements, and I am so far. That's encouraging me.
But that first half, that you couldn't fail to be entertained by that first half, and everything just felt it. The Green Brigade and the beat of the drum and the rhythm of the play, everything just seemed to be all in sync with each other, and it was just a case of sitting there and watching it and marveling in it. And second half totally dropped off and everything. But in terms of that points total, see if we play the way we did last week and the way we did in the first half today, I do think we'll get a bigger points total this season, because I think the gulf will just open up between us and the other teams. There were times in that first half where I'm thinking, we're just so much better than them. And I think this season we're going to just be so much better than the rest of Scottish football. There's a thing in my head where we're going to be too good for the league that we're in, but we're not going to be good enough for the other league that we're in. And again, it's you're at this crossroads, you're in this position in the middle, and we'll not play the way we did in the first half today for all of this season. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we see a lot of play like that. But I think we'll go beyond last season's points total. I genuinely do, and that's also taken into consideration the games against Rangers where we gained a lot of points in those particular matches. Yeah, we dropped silly points at home and all those, but I can't see us dropping the same stupid points at home. I can't see us drawing at home to St Johnstone. I can't see us drawing at home to Killie or Motherwell. If just on the early indications, the early signs that we've seen, it's going to be very, very difficult for them kind of teams to take anything off us. The midfield dynamic, Hatate, he's very wide on the left sometimes, and I think you've got McGregor in the 6, and then you've got O'Reilly as the sort of main playmaker, and Hatate. It's kind of like what exactly is his role in that midfield, and I think that dynamic's going to change once O'Reilly goes. If he goes, it feels as if he's going to go. The bids are getting towards that magic 25 number. I'd love him to stay. I said there's no benefit to us as supporters for getting in 25 million for a player, because we'll not spend that. We'll not see a player brought in of the same level. But I think Hatate's dynamic, his role will change, because as much as nobody wants to hear this, Bernardo is the Matt O'Reilly replacement. Bernardo is coming in to play in the first team once Matt O'Reilly moves on. But I think what that does, he's not going to play the same role as Matt O'Reilly. He's going to play a more withdrawn role, and Rio Hatate is then going to become the playmaker. That's how I see it playing out, and that will give him more license to take those risks, because he will have an extra body behind, providing that protective shield. So whenever he's going for the creative pass or the risky option, if it breaks down, there's an extra body in there in terms of Bernardo alongside McGregor. So I think that the role will change. I think Hatate still has a massive part to play, but he'll get even more license to take those risks whenever O'Reilly moves on.
I think that makes total sense. That makes absolute sense if they were to do that. A couple of other things I want to touch on. In terms of what you've seen so far, Pam, positions Celtic need to strengthen now. We've got around 20 days of this window left, 21. I think it's the 1st of September. Is it 1st or 2nd September, something like that? 21 days, say 3 weeks, to do something that we've not done in the last 10 weeks. And that would be sign a player who's not already done the hoops. Other than, because the reason I say that, of course, Schmeichel doesn't wear the hoops. See? Clever, Terry, innit? It's clever what I'm doing here, mate. I know you weren't listening. It's fine, pal. I just thought I'd catch you off guard there. But I do think we have to now be looking at certain individual positions. For me, I ironically look at the left-back position. I've watched Greg Taylor play well, but you can't go in with one left-back again. Burnaby's so far off it. It's unbelievable. It has got to be competition, someone who's better than Greg Taylor, who can come in and push Greg Taylor on to greater things. I look at left centre back. I think Liam Scales has to be upgraded on. If Nawrocki and Lagerbielke are that far away from him, then we need someone else, and it's got to be someone that I don't think, unless Celtic are really capping this transfer fee sort of limit and wage limit, like to a scarily low level, a level that we're not actually maybe even grasping as fans how little it is, then I think it should be relatively easy to go out there and get a 5 million quid centre back and 25-30 grand a week that instantly starts ahead of Liam Scales. Liam Scales is not committed any crimes here or anything like that. I just want the best for Celtic. He's 26 years old, Scales. He'll do me as a backup, no problem. Natural left-sided, can maybe deputise at left-back if and when needed. Certainly can play the domestic games at home, for example, if and when needed. But I want someone to walk into walk into Celtic Park, the second you see them unveiled, he'll do me. Look at his track record, look where he's been, and they are there for Celtic to go and get. On top of that, I think we do need another midfielder, unless he's going to put the pressure on home to actually become the player that I don't know if he likes him or not, as he's played an interesting chess match with him mentally. I know there's a clamour for wingers. I'm not as inclined to be going down that road unless it's someone of exceptional ability Rodgers has identified, and strikers position I want too. Where are you at with these sort of positions that we've covered? Is there anything else I'm not thinking of that you would like to see?
For me, striker is very glaring. I cannot take this season just with my anxiety on a absolute needle, just looking at Kyogo, seeing if he's going to get injured. I've already said this before, but I'm just going to say the shock that we've allowed it to deteriorate this much. And it's not to say Kyogo's bad, but we need backups, like we just do. I agree with you on the left back and left centre back. I don't think Taylor and Scales are necessarily bad, but I just think we need different, and we also, we're going to go against different teams who have different playing styles. We need to adapt with having different players of our own that have diverse playing styles. It's just the nature of the game. I feel the same about the midfield. I feel the midfield, it's not weak, but I would like it to be more secure. And you get that increased security by just having more diversity as well to choose from. Because don't get me wrong, I like Hatate, Kalmak, and O'Reilly. I think they're a strong 3. I think they're a strong mid 3. But if one of them gets injured, or as I'm convinced Matt O'Reilly's gone. I'm just convinced. I mean, if he stays, it'll be magic, but I don't think that's going to happen. We need to fill up that space, and we need to fill it up to the extent that we don't notice such a decrease. I'm not too sure Bernardo's going to be a bad alternative. I think he's going to be different. But I would like also probably somebody else as well to cover Hatate as well, because Hatate is not 100% consistent. He does definitely have games where he's a lot less off his form than other games. Greg Taylor did great today personally, but what if he gets injured? I don't want to bring on Bernabei. I want to bring on somebody who's similar.
This is the point that we're definitely making, and I think there's got to be players out there that can look the second they come in assured enough to be challenging Greg Taylor for the jersey, not just to be his backup. I'm sick of us signing backup players. I think we need to lose emotional attachments that seem to get built when, and I get it, but when players are at the club for a few years, there's puts protective wing around them. Now they get the benefit of getting to play for Celtic and they get paid a fortune to do so. I want the best version in each position. I can only look at it as fucking imagine if it was one of my tactics, but probably about 15 players on it. You know what I mean? Pissed. But if I can only look at it as blank canvases in each position. I want the best possible player Celtic can get and someone decent of a decent level to come on. And improvement means that you've got to improve on what's there. Otherwise, you're not improving. Greg Taylor can be improved on, Terry. Liam Scales can be improved on. And no striker second choice, no striker third choice can be improved on. Although I don't like the way even I'm now articulating it like that subconsciously. First choice, second, there's a hierarchy to the striking position, and I don't like it because I think it should be a free-for-all, mate. It should be the Wild West. You don't score, you're out. In comes the next guy. He'll score, he'll adapt. He's been training hard, and you have them all going hell for leather at becoming Celtic's number one striker. That is what I'm looking for. But yeah, there's so many glaring opportunities to improve the team, isn't there?
Yeah, but I think if you have to prioritize with the little time we have left in this window, cannot believe I'm saying this because I've been thinking about this since before the window opened. Striker, left back, left centre back. If we have to prioritize 3 positions, those are the ones I'm going to prioritize. And then if we have time to be more ambitious, look at the midfield. But just crazy I'm even talking about this. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
We don't have to prioritize because we've got more money than we need. We've had more time than we need. We knew when the window opened. We knew when it shut. We knew when players were going to retire. All of that stuff was known. As far as I can see, the 2 people responsible, or the 2 key people responsible for recruitment last season are gone. We knew they were gone because the club told us they were gone 3 months before the end of the season. To me, those 2 haven't been replaced, so I don't know who is doing recruitment. But there's no excuse. This is just the usual pitch that will get served up. It'll go down to the wire and it'll be the usual rhetoric. We ran out of time. We were working on a few things. Clubs didn't want to release their players. Blah, blah, blah. Same pitch. I've said this so many times. There are thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of good footballers across the world. And there's nobody in that Celtic team at this point in time that we could not find a replacement for, who we could not find an improvement on, who we would be able to get. There's just none of those positions. There's a few we struggle to get better than, to be fair, but there are a few glaring obvious ones where we must be able to find someone in the world who's better than what we've got. We talked about Scales. Scales is the obvious one. He's the unfashionable one, and he was caught out a couple of times today. He misjudged the ball. He misjudged the flight of the ball and got caught out. But I think we need to say as well, because it's easy to call out Scales, it was easy to call out Starfelt, easy to call out Lagerbelga and Navroggy. Vickers got caught out today again. He got out muscled today, and I said last week, I think last week was the first time I seen somebody out muscle him. Today's the second one, because when Hibs hit the bar, the guy done him as well. So let's hope it's just a wee bit of early season rustiness, and he's not starting to cause us any cause for concern. But I don't want to talk about the transfer market anymore, because I just get so frustrated, because every year you go into the window with hopes and expectation, and you end up disappointed. They talk about the January transfer window being difficult. Every window's difficult if you don't want to spend money.
It's crisis management.
There's two a year, for fuck's sake.
Sorry.
Yeah. My worry is as well, no matter who it is we bring in, and it's going to now go down to it, which, I was kind of hoping last year, unless there are like 3 players that come in that have been told on the EPL list that they're not going to be part of the EPL squads. Right? See if it's not going to be that, and that means you can understand they've been not registered for it, so they're of a level that we wouldn't be able to get through the rest of the window.
Do you see Doug coming back, Bhoycie? Do you think that'll happen? I think that'll happen. Ben Doug.
For me, I've seen this rumour.
I think that'll happen.
I sincerely hope not. I think that would, if they manage to do that, they have to have the brass neck to bring back a young player on loan to give first team minutes to that they couldn't give to when he was there at the club before. Oh, just fuck off, eh? And the best bit is with Ben Doak, there is no way you're telling me this club have a business sense when they wouldn't have just paid him, say, 15 grand a week, but they would now be willing to take him on loan and pay what would be something like a minimum £5 million fee. Minimum to get him back. And if people want to tell you they're good at business, fuck off. Would he do well? Who knows? He's not done enough in any first team level to know if he would do well. We're only familiar with his name because he was us before. It wouldn't inspire me that signing whatsoever, and I would be much more inclined to go with what we've got in the wings, to be honest with you, than clamouring for Ben Doak to come back. No offence to him, by the way, in any way, shape, or form, but I just think that's one hell of a pressure when you're coming back from Liverpool, having never really done anything there, but you're now ex-Liverpool Ben Doak coming in at a Celtic team to really get your first shot at running games as a first-team regular anywhere. Come on. It's just going to be a ridiculously unfair thing, and then folk will call him, will go back to if he doesn't do well, that he fucked off and left us before and stuff like that, and to me it's just a sideshow that we don't need. If Celtic would be willing, though, to invest in that again, it's like, what? Why didn't you just invest in before he left? You must have had people telling you this guy was good. Because if Liverpool guys think he's good, I would like to think the Celtic guys there that make these judgments have the same sort of clarity of mind and are able to make those decisions.
But if not a Ben Doak, Bhoycie, I think that's what we're potentially looking at. It's when Liverpool, Man City, Man United, perhaps, when them teams decide who they want for the upcoming season.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
There's young players, so it's maybe not Doak. Although I do think there's legs in it. I could see it happening, if I'm being honest with you. But it could be someone of that ilk from one of those other teams. And again, you don't know what you're getting. Sometimes it's worked for us, like Paddy Roberts. Other times it hasn't worked. Daniel Arzani. So it's like any transfer hit and miss. But I don't hold out much hope now. One of the ones I was expecting to come in, McKenna, he's gone. I'm not bothered about him being gone. I just thought it would just be so Celtic to sign Scott McKenna because he was on a free. But I'm not expecting a pile of action. I'm really not. I think Ida will come through, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's him and 2 loan signings, and that's it.
It's incredible. It is incredible. Anyway, we will speculate and we'll discuss it more. I'm going to go out and enjoy the sun. Thank you to everyone who has been in the live chat. 170 live right now. A massive thanks to everyone who's watching. Really appreciate that. Terry, thank you for joining us as always on the P.M.P. Pam, the new addition to P.M.P. Brilliant to have you both on as always. And we will see you again next week. It's fucking shite next week being a League Cup game. That should be midweek. I'm not for this League Cup match. You're just getting in full swing of the season, and I'll probably come on next week, probably having had a drink or something like that. I've not drank. First 2 games of the season. I'll probably come on next week and I'll have a drink and go, well, Terry, 3 points in the bag. Good job done. You're like, it was League Cup, Bhoycie. And I'm like, oh, aye.
I'm in Dublin next weekend, Bhoycie, so I could be 5 or 6 Guinness deep before I move on.
Good, mate. Oh, yeah, we want that. Right, fine. I take your challenge and I accept, Terry. We'll do the same. Pam, get your referee gear out the now because you will definitely.
I'll have a yellow red card.
Yeah, it'll be spilled.
Your Guinness wouldn't be as nice as my Guinness.
It'll be sparring season, definitely. If me and Terry are on the ale next week before we go live, why not? League Cup, Diddy Cup, anyway. Anyway, thanks so much to everyone again. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will see you all later. Cheers.
Yeah.